And then also come back and choose who are the winners and the choosers through things like bailout programs. You know, if we get to the point where we are looking at our private sector financial institutions much the same as we do with Little League, where every kid gets a trophy, so that every person up there, no matter what their bad business practices are, the American taxpayer bails them out, then we will continue to have this cycle of failure in our financial industries. So I think the most important thing you have to look at with the foreclosures is starting with government getting involved into the private sector with mortgages. The government, as far as seeing what should have been stopped, people that sit on House Finance Committee supporting to have oversight, continue to allow this to happen. You want to talk about bipartisanship? That was a Republican and a Democrat issue because they lost the focus, they lost their eye on the ball. They were more so concerned about minority home ownership than understanding the standards and the economic principles that they buy.
Mr. Klein.
This is the case of, to answer your question specifically, this is the case of both individuals not being personally responsible in terms of making decisions, and banks with predatory lending practices and also this ridiculousness of if you get a bank holds it for 30 days, they sell off in some massive package to somebody else and make a dollar. Before my wife and I bought our first home, we probably like everybody in this room here. You know, you literally went to the bank, you had to produce your income and verification there, you had to show what kind of assets you had to have an appraisal that said the bank, the house is worth a certain amount of money, and then the bank was going to take the risk along with you by saying, okay, I can deal with the clients because they're a good credit risk for this $150,000 loan. That worked, okay? Well, this new model of just selling everything off is got to go. It just doesn't work that way. All public liquidity and creating more cash, well, you know something? It worked for big banks in Wall Street, it didn't work for us as homeowners down here. So that's what we fixed. Number two, in terms of foreclosure specifically, we need to get the banks. I'm tired of the banks giving us all these excuses why they can't work things out. Now, there's some people that will lose their property under foreclosure because they're way over their heads. The property values won't support it, they don't have the income to support it. But there are a majority of people out there that maybe were earning $75,000 a year. They lost their job. They now are maybe earning $45,000. They can stay in that house. If they can't afford $1,500 a month, they can afford $1,100 a month. The bank has to sit with them, work it out, put some of the principle and the amortization on the back end, and I think that it all works out. We don't want foreclosure to the extent that we want to make sure that people in the community are, living in homes, paying their assessments, paying their taxes. It's good for the whole community. So we can work it out. It just requires more muscle in the banks.
All right. Mr. Westman.
And I think that one of the important things about the foreclosure rate down here in Florida, South Florida especially, is so mighty that it brings down the rest of Florida to make it third highest in the nation. Once again, we've got to get money back into the pockets of individuals. There is an individual responsibility that came about, but once again, government set that to occur. Those lowering standards, and also thanks for bad lending practices. I think that we have to be very careful because if we end up having some type of moratorium on foreclosures, then all of a sudden on the backs of the American people, once again, we're going to put that burden on the taxpayers. We can see another second crash of the mortgage industry. So I think it's so important that we do work with the banks. But one of the key things when we're talking to the banking industry, they're very nervous about all the regulation and the risk. I mean, they want to get out there and they want to extend that money, but they're really concerned about the risk of doing it, what happens on the backside. Because previously, they were penalized if they did not lower the standard.
Okay. Mr. Klein.
Some of the bankers, and I exclude our community bankers because most of our bankers down here understand our community. They're your friends and neighbors. You coach Little League, or go to church with them, or shop with them, and your neighbors. A lot of our bankers on Wall Street, though, didn't get it. They didn't get the message. And if to the extent that they're concerned now about some reasonable oversight, so be it. They need to hear it loud and clear. We want good credit card practices. We want good real estate lending practices. We want to make sure we have the opportunity to have good lending available to us. I had a chance to meet with some of our local realtors the other day. We're very proud to get their endorsement. They were telling me some specific ideas what we can do on foreclosures, what we can do on financing. I met with them over the last number of years. They continue to give us good ideas. These are our small businessmen and women in the community. I thank them for what they do. We'll continue to work with them to solve these problems.
All right, we're at the 1:30. We'll go ahead and get the closing statements in. Mr. Klein, you go first.
Well, thank you. And thank you to everyone attending today. Whatever side of the issues you're on, we appreciate you engaging in our democracy. I am very proud of the fact that I've worked very hard on behalf of this community. I'm very proud of my family lives in this community, as I said before. We have raised our kids here. We feel I'm an optimist. I know we're going through some tough times. We've also had 15 years of great appreciation. My wife's family has business here in the local community, and obviously we've all benefited from the wonderful nature of this whole community. But we have some tough challenges. We made made some progress, but we have a long way to go. And I'm not going to stop fighting until every single person in South Florida who wants a job can get a good quality job. I'm proud of the fact that I've received a number of endorsements. Palm Beach Post the other day gave me a very strong endorsement and was very critical of my opponent based on his, they viewed him as extreme. Received endorsements of law enforcement, local law enforcement, received endorsement of teachers. The VFW, very proud of that.
No, you didn't! It was the fact!
Particularly VFW capacity. Particularly VFW support. That was largely.
Show some class.
Time working with the veterans in our community. Veterans in our community, for men and women, who put the uniform on, and every man and woman in this country should back them up while they're on the battlefield and when they come home. I've had Broward and Palm Beach County advisory groups since the beginning here, and I've fought very hard to make sure that they get what they need. Had a local veteran came to me. I can't tell you that the tears we got a medal for him that occurred many years ago. I wasn't able to get. We got that for him, and the face of his grandchildren. I welled up at the same time, knowing that we were doing something for him that he did for our country. Beyond that, I think the rest of this is about understanding who we side with and where we stand. My opponent is, yes, he's got Sarah Palin's endorsement. We'll see what he has on our side. At the end of the day, we want solutions. We want people that will work well with other people. We want people that will fight for the principles. We can both argue that one. But you want people to get things done. My record is Medicare, my record is working with Governor Bush on scripts, passing the Jimmy Rights Act to protect our kids against sexual predators. Bipartisan bills, every one of them. The homeowners bill I'm working on right now to reduce our insurance. That is essential for every single one of us. I don't care what background you have. I've got every Democrat and Republican supporting us. Mr. West doesn't support it. To him, it's just another case of everything's wrong with government. When you have conservatives and liberals and everyone in between, that's the way you do it. So I thank you for your support. I thank you for being here. It's a privilege to serve. I have to.
Well, I think one of the critical things, in terms of talking about the Homeowners Defense Act, if you go to a website called smartersafer.org, you will see that you have bipartisan groups, fiscal conservative groups, insurers, and also environmentalist groups that are speaking out against H.R. 2555 because they know that if this bill goes through, it will add somewhere up to about $200 billion to our debt. There is an opposing bill out there called H.R. 3377, which is something that I do support. It supports us bringing private insurance back in here. It supports us having pre-event risk mitigation. And if you go and study the comparison between Florida and South Carolina, you will see that South Carolina has a very good model that I think we should follow as far as homeowners defense. Let me talk to you about what has happened in the United States of America. My opponent was last night with the President of the United States of America. Last night I was at two candidate forums, one in the village of North Palm Beach and another one in West Palm Beach. In the morning of yesterday, I sat down at the Gun Club Cafe and we had a $5 breakfast with about 70 individuals. My focus is on you, not on any type of special interest, not being a partisan hack. I believe that the best days of the United States of America are truly ahead of us. Now, I'm quite serious about this because I once said that I would lay down my life for this country. It would be very easy if I had retired down here and continued on teaching high school and just been a dive bomber. But some people out there came to me and said, will you please stand up and go and seek to represent us in Washington, D.C.? And I said, yes, I would. Because the oath that I took does not have a statute of limitations. So it is time for us to get vibrant, visionary leadership, new voices in Washington, D.C. My opponent has contributed to the debt being grown. My opponent voted for the stimulus. He voted for the health care, which is starting to unravel. Prior to that, he voted for TARP. He supports all of these big government plans, cap and trade, card check. That is not the way that the United States was built to be where it is in 234 years. But if we continue to send that vision back, we will have a failed system. 47% of Americans are not paying federal income taxes right now. And that's a very dangerous statistic. Because as Margaret Thatcher said, socialism works very well until you run out of other people's money. And if we continue to the point where we believe that 53% or maybe even 50% become the producers and the employers, but yet we keep taxing them, keep putting the burden upon them, then they will stop producing. My opponent had an excellent opportunity to vote to make sure that they stayed there and gave economic predictability and certainty to you, the constituents of CD22. And he voted against that. I would not have done that. I believe that my place will be up there to make sure we get the right and proper solutions for you. So as I said, protect your life,